Welcome to another edition of Race Reviews with Billy and Sam. This is the G'day Mate edition from Melbourne, Australia.
Not really from Melbourne, Australia. We've actually left.
Yeah.
Now we're in Argentina, but whatever.
We are in the Southern Hemisphere, and that feels pretty accurate.
Yeah, I guess the toilets go clockwise, so we're good.
That's how we know where we are. So, back to race reviews. This was Melbourne's inaugural 70.3. They have had a full in the past. I don't know that there's any plans to bring it back, but they were very excited about this one. So you want to start with check-in?
So we've done something that I'm not sure we've ever done before, and that's we checked in 2 days early. So the race was on Sunday, and we're checking in on Friday, which is unusual for us. Really relaxed. Well, first of all, you sign up for a time to check in.
Yes.
Not once yet have we had to adhere to that time.
We were a little nervous. Australia's just opening. This is their first, maybe their second race.
But, I mean, they're not having very many events. They've only been open for a couple of weeks, weeks.
So this was...
we thought if anybody was going to enforce that,
yes,
it was going to be in Australia. They did not.
They did not. It was so the times are all fake, just like our reviews. So don't worry about it. Show up whenever you want.
And take this review with a grain of salt for sure.
Please. This was 2,000 people, and that's max. There was not any more room for more bikes.
I don't know. I think they could have made... There weren't any more room the way they had transition set up. But
yes.
I think they could have made... they could have... think about it. It was double racks. All right, we'll get that in a minute. 2,000 people. That was all that was going to fit the way they had it set up. Transition was... the check-in was a standard, normal Ironman transition. You went... check-in. You went to... Had your QR code. They gave you... you didn't get your chip until you checked your bike in, which has been standard for Europe. And... Dubai, Oman, all those places. Not the U.S. The U.S. you get your chip when you check in. You left and you went. So there they gave you the backpack, and you went and got your T-shirt. You left the actual check-in tent and went to a T-shirt check-in tent. When we say backpack, this has to be the most disappointing backpack we've ever gotten from an Ironman race. We've gotten 3 of these. A white one, a red one, and a blue one, just for our clothes bags before. You got a red bike bag, a blue run bag, and a white street clothes bag, exactly the same as this. We were like, oh, well, maybe they're going to give us a backpack at the finish. They did not.
No, this was your backpack.
You get points taken off. That is a crappy backpack.
Yeah. I'm going to please take everything with a grain of salt. We're reviewing an Australian race, and we're from the States where we have been outside of the COVID protocols since the due date the bat in China. So we have not really, it's been last year, early last year, when we got these hats with no logo.
And the wet bag that was just a standard wet bag with no name on them.
The U.S. went through something similar, still gave out a better backpack, so that's why we're I feel legitimately taking away points. But it may change. So this may have been I don't know if this race is going to pull off, and I don't know if I want 2,000 full-size backpacks in boxes somewhere.
That's fine. Then ship us one. We've had that before. And just, you can even lie. We had the backpacks on order. They got stuck on a ship. We can't send them to you yet.
Yeah.
We'll send them to you later. There was none of that. So that was pretty disappointing. That was about the only disappointing thing in the race.
We'll continue.
Yeah. So you got your shirt at the T-shirt thing, and so it's a Ironman Melbourne logo on the thing, and then on the back. Do you see that?
That was mostly butt. You might want to sit further down now. I'll sit back up. More Pilates. There you go. You're doing great.
My legs are hurting now. All right. So anyway, I like the T-shirt. It's a technical T-shirt. Has stuff on the back, stuff on the front. Well, yeah, we're good with that. That was
no issues.
I don't have a year on it.
Does not have a year on it. Was not upset.
And that was perfectly fine. No big deal.
So same thing. I'm treating this like I did early in the U.S. when they weren't sure what was happening. So
okay,
we'll keep going.
So leave, check in.
You check your bike in the day before.
The next day we checked our bike in, and you got a time for that too, which didn't matter.
They had a reasonable amount of stuff. They gave us the standard U.S. water bottle prices for the old Ironman.
Oh yeah, they did have a fair amount of. It was a
$15 water bottle.
Yeah, it was a good Ironman marketplace or whatever. Ironman Expo.
Yeah, this was a larger village than we were expecting.
So this is an Ironman owned race. Also,
this
isn't a licensed race. So yeah, not much to it. Had plenty of vendors set up too, but the shopping or whatever, they had plenty of T-shirts, the name T-shirts, the caps, the water bottles. They even had stickers, which is good for them because a lot of races hadn't had stickers.
I think they have stickers. We just show up at the last minute and they're all gone. So they did not have a lot of stickers because that's what they've said is whenever we're out of stickers, we're out of stickers.
Okay.
So
the benefits of showing up early and checking in early. So if you signed up for a later check-in time, no big deal. Just go ahead and try to check in.
Yeah, check in early.
And you can. It was much more relaxed. I mean, we were the only ones there. We were like literally the only ones there.
Yeah. So they were ringing the bell if you said it was your first Ironman. And I said it was my first Ironman this week, and my first Ironman in Melbourne.
Sure.
So right, my volunteer rings the bell, and then everybody up and down the line is ringing the bell. So there's a lot more excitement, and then the next day I hear one bell ring. So obviously that novelty wore up pretty fast. But yeah, so you checked in the bike the next day.
Transition 1, transition 2, same spot.
Yeah.
And this was an unusual racking system. We've never seen this racking system before.
I'm going to call it a double rack. One rack was maybe a foot, 18 inches from the other in front. So you hooked 5 bikes, preferably by their handlebars, onto the rack. And the rack is set up extra high. So instead of having the bike maximally or furthest possible out into the walkway, by pulling it up like that, your bike's a lot more vertical. Allowing for narrower walkways, and so trying to squeeze more bikes in. You're losing that 18 inches, so that makes 10 bikes in the space of one rack width, not one rack depth.
Yeah, it was really weird. I mean, they used double the number of racks. I mean, it wasn't like this was a double rack where you had 2 poles holding it up and a pole in the middle. This was legitimately 2 different racks that were set up really close to each other. It was just kind of strange.
It was very strange.
The handlebars, what they wanted, I think the reason they had it on the handlebars was to keep the wind from blowing it overnight, because you were allowed to flip your bike around the next day, and I did that and hooked my seat to it, which made the bike a little bit lower. Not much, but a little bit lower.
Yeah, my handlebars, I was playing with it, and I had to kind of twist to get it off, so they had zip ties. You just have to ask. So you could zip tie down so that your handlebars could
just
go
hook into the zip ties.
Yeah, the way that my bike is set up, I cannot hook to the back seat. So everybody's got a little different, but
it was fine. The distance between the bike racks, like between the aisles or whatever, were plenty big.
They were for you.
Okay.
So Awa got some extra space in there. By the time they got to my rack, it was
more narrow,
the right size.
So this is of note. All World Athlete, we got it because we did a whole bunch of races, not because we're at all elite. We'll get into that later. But it was the very first set of racks that you came in off of the from the swim. So when you came into our bikes, the AWA bikes, which were first. Sam registered for the race late because he had deferred out to another race, and then Australia opened, and so he
jumped back in.
And so he didn't get the AWA designation Other than he got a swim cap, and
Yeah.
I didn't get a swim cap. So
Yeah, so Billy had AWA on his all-world athlete on his bib and got the all-world athlete numbers. I was on the opposite end of the spectrum at 1840, so I think he was like
mine had
184.
my
Name
had the
underneath
name
it?
on it. It had like the U.S. flag
Yeah.
and all that. So, I mean, it was cool. However, the AWA bike racks were in the
man.
absolute worst position of all of transition.
So it's triangle. Transition is a triangle. You run in on the right, or excuse me, swim in, run in.
Run from the swim in.
Is on one piece. The bike in and bike out are on the north part of the triangle, and then the run out is on the west side of the triangle. So if you're on the right, on the far eastern side of the triangle, you obviously hit your bike first, but you've got to run it all the way up and out, and then when you're done, you come in and go the wrong way to your rack, drop your bike, and then all the way across the bottom of the triangle. So
yeah, I mean, they literally could not have put the all-world athletes.
They
in
were-
the worst
they
spot.
were
It was
not helping.
It was absolutely the worst spot. So I don't. Usually they pick the best spot for those guys.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't make a difference to me, but if I was an all-world athlete, I probably. I mean, like if I was legitimately trying to get my best time or set some
upset.
kind of record, I mean, everybody was right there together, but there were people that clearly had an advantage.
So, yeah, I suspect they'll probably fix that. That's probably just one of those things that you just
It was a
notice
new
late.
race. I didn't notice. Yeah.
So hey, they'll get feedback on that. So where I was on the western side of the triangle, and it was a great position. So I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta add five. You gotta take 5 minutes off my time. Add 5 minutes to his time because that's how much time you save. To being in a
That's
better
a massive
position.
triangle, absolutely huge triangle for 5 minutes. A whole transition doesn't take 5 minutes.
Your transition to take five. Mine always takes 5 minutes or more.
If I count it from the time that I get into transition and to the time that I leave transition, 5 minutes is probably right.
Right, but you had that transition twice. That's why I'm saying you need to add. I'm not saying to add 5 minutes to each transition, just 5 minutes total.
Yeah, but it's with the bike out and then the bike back. That was that. So that's fun. So yeah, beware of that. This is a grass transition area.
A little sandy, but it's a really fine sand. It's not the coarse sand, so you can either have some water to wash your feet off, or you don't have to have that. Either way.
I brought water and was happy that I did. There are plenty of filling stations here. They had, it looked like a hose spigot. Really.
They said it was filtered. I don't know. I filled my thing up with it.
It was off of the city water supply, so I'm certain that it was fine. But yeah, that was their bottle refill, which was cool. Everybody and their brother had a bike pump, so
They sure did, and not only did they have a bike pump, they were telling everybody to, when you finish with your bike pump, go put it by the fence. Well, I was walking up and I saw bike pumps by the fence, and I was like, oh, they got bike pumps out for us to use. So I picked one up, went and pumped up my tires, and took it back, and I'm like, this has got somebody's number on it.
I asked my neighbor, so I had permission on mine. But yeah, there were tons of bike pumps, so you do not need to bring one from the States. You will want a headlamp. Would be helpful. There was only one light there, so I didn't bring one. It would have just been a nice thing to be able to see the PSI of the pump. Yeah. Other than that, there was plenty of light for whatever you needed to do.
I mean, for setting up your bike, there was. I mean, it wasn't like daytime light, but it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
And you set up your transition at your bike. It was not bagged, so you set up everything right there. That's another advantage of being in the AWA all-world athlete area. Everybody has their transition
set
ready to go. I mean, and it's a small area. When you get into with first timers or whatever, they'll have these giant, towels out with everything that you can possibly think of. That's everything set in an individual area. So, there is an advantage to being with all world athletes because they pretty much know what's up.
Yeah. We laugh because we've all been those first time athletes that brought. I mean, I use this on one training ride. I might need it. Bring it.
Luckily, when you travel a bunch, you realize, hey, I don't use that, and it's taking up space and weight in my luggage. We're not taking it anymore.
So, all in all, transition reasonable. So we start on the swim. Porta potties.
Yeah, the porta potties were outside of transition. So transition was open for an hour.
Yes.
So from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m.
They did
or
not.
6:15. It was 6:15 to 7:15. Maybe it was 6. Whatever. It was just 1 hour.
It was not open early.
No, and they wouldn't let you in early. An hour is actually plenty of time, but there were 2,000 people. Hit the bathroom first. Hit the porta potty very first before you set up anything. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
And they had, I don't know, 20 or 30 right there, 10 or 15 or 20 right there in a row. So it was a good number of porta potties. And then it was a good number for the beginning. For the peak, it was not a good number because you walk out of transition and there's a line. And you're like, what's this line for? They're like the bathroom. They're like, oh, well, I don't have to go to the bathroom right now. By the time I get to the front of the line, I know I am. So you just get in the line and stand there. And what ended up happening was there was a line going in the entrance, and then there was an exit, but somebody had formed a line in the exit. So it would have gone a lot faster if everybody had just gotten in the one line and left, but they didn't.
So pro tip, go look for the other line first, or if it hasn't started yet, be the first.
Yeah.
Be that guy. So when you have a long row of porta potties like that, it's impossible to queue at one end and see the one at the other.
Would have liked to see a volunteer at the other end just waving and telling people which one to go in.
And they had a volunteer there refilling toilet paper.
Yeah.
So they, that was good.
We've seen that at Ironman races where they have a volunteer and tell you which one to go in.
Yeah.
But not at this one.
So same thing. I think these are just early shakeout kind of things for the first time race.
It was no big deal for us. We were able to go to the porta potties and to go do a semi warm up swim prior to the swim. So don't panic if the line's long. It does move.
It's what is that? 400 yards, 400 meters maybe from transition to the swim start.
Maybe even a little bit longer than that. But it was a nice walk. It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's flat. It's on asphalt and
it's on the run course.
There's no real issues with it except just know that it's a little ways. We were able to. So there's a pier, and the swim is on the left side of the pier. On the right side, they were letting us all get in the water and kind of test to make sure. We got in the water. I like getting in the water, getting myself wet before the race to kind of acclimate to how it's going to be. The water was not too cold.
No.
So no issues there.
Wetsuit legal, but not freezing cold.
But yes, by the time we got out of that water, the dude is saying, the race has started. The race has started.
It was rolling start, though, so it wasn't a big deal for us. So after he tells us that, we're heading on. You've got people that are kind of running around us or whatever, but, you were fixed to stand in line. There's 2,000 people in the race. It takes a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes for everybody to get in the water.
So when we signed up, you signed up with a swim time, and they gave you a cap based on your projected swim time.
But the cap didn't matter.
It did not matter in the least.
If you had a slow cap and you wanted to be in the front of the line, you just went to the front of the line. If you had a fast cap and you wanted to be at the back of the line, you just went to the back of the line.
They did not have, or at least I didn't see, the volunteers with the sticks of
maybe the swim caps was like the
the volunteers with the sticks.
Yeah, you just get in the area.
In the American races, there are volunteers holding 30 to 35 minutes or whatever each segment, and so then they would walk forward. So then it allowed you to kind of self-seed within that segment. There were 5 swim times, 5 different caps.
Yeah.
So the groups were larger than what I'm accustomed to that way. So I just kind of hung back and swam in the Billy section.
I put an accurate swim time on my thing. Sam's putting this
accurate swim time.
No,
very accurate. Highly, highly accurate. I swam Augusta in 25 minutes. I could actually go into the 25.
That is true. You've done a race in 25 minutes. I still haven't done a race in 25 minutes. Anyway, swim itself, ocean swims in a bay. It's more of a triangle, I guess.
It was a flag. You went up and circled around the purple. It was 4 yellow buoys. It was, and then up, and then back, and then took a right and came back down.
Okay, but I mean, you started and finished relatively close together.
Yes.
And kind of went around the buoys, not a circle, more rectangular, I guess, than anything. Not so there was what I felt like probably a little bit of a current going out on that last leg coming in. The reason I say that is because as I was coming, I was swimming towards the buoy and I kept getting pushed further and further out. That was like swimming towards the lighthouse. So if you're swimming towards the lighthouse, there was a current going out. That's highly dependent probably on tides. I didn't feel a current any other place. I didn't feel a current helping me go out. I didn't notice any faster swim legs than others. It was just that one little area. So, I mean, it could be that just the way that the pier is and the way that the water hits it, that it just there was more of a current right there. But we're looking out there and it's flat as a lake. I mean, it was very calm.
Very glassy. You're in a bay in the polar sea, the south. We still have not actually figured out what ocean that is, but it's the ocean that touches Antarctica.
Oh, nice.
So it's a different ocean.
Okay. So with the swim 2 days before, really choppy. Not wave, not like surfing wave choppy, but like windy lake choppy. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And so the wind had just died down and it was flat.
Yeah. So right, the longer you wait, the more wind you have to deal with. Obviously sun, convection, blah blah blah. But no, this was an excellent day weather-wise.
Yeah.
So you may take our weather with a grain of salt, but we'll report it anyway.
If you're a fast swimmer, it's beneficial to you to go at the front. You're dealing with less wind. You were dealing with less sun. The sun does come up, and you're swimming towards the sun that very last leg.
Yeah. So it's lower in the sky.
You wouldn't if you were. I mean, there were people that were before we started were out of the water. So if you're a fast swimmer or you want to get in that group and swim on the outside, you'll deal with less sun and then eventually less wind on the bike.
So first time race, you were obviously going to have lots of first time racers. There were 700, I think, is what I heard.
Oh wow!
First timers, so almost a third or a little over a third of the group was first time half Ironman. I didn't have problems with getting swam over so badly there. I
the
got
water
knocked
was
around a little
water
bit,
was pretty clear, and people were for the most part good. I mean, I swam a fair ways on the outside, and when I saw somebody swimming on the outside of me, I'm like, "What in the world are you doing?" And then at one point there was a guy that kept zigzagging right in front of me. He would zigzag front and go out this way, and then zigzag back, and I mean I'd catch him. And I'm like, dude, can you not figure out how to swim straight? Because he was swimming faster than me, but we were going at the same speed. But there are swims that I hate, and I did not hate this one.
This was fine. This is a reasonably good swim. So
get out of the swim.
Out of the swim.
It's a good ways. Remember, we had to walk that 400 yards or more to get to the swim start. The same on the swim finish. You got to go back that whole. So You can run out of breath if you're running it.
I'd love to see an artificial turf or something carpet. They gave us carpet
the last 100
for the sand,
meters.
Yeah, which was really nice and appreciated. But the road didn't have anything on it. It wasn't anything sharp, but that's just a little annoyance that I know that they could do and help us out. But later, that's the run course, so.
So you hop on transition. We've talked about it. I mean, it's standard transition. I didn't have any issues other than when I walk in, I'm looking at my All World Athlete rack, and I'm like, crap. There's 0 bikes on that rack. Not even mine. I couldn't even see my bike on the rack. So I get right up close to it. And I'm like, oh, there's my bike. But it was the only one. There was, how many ever 100 and something bikes on that rack, and mine was it.
So I get out of the swim first because obviously my swim time was lower for a reason.
It was. He whipped me.
So I am laughing hysterically. Billy's all by himself. And I run over to my bike, my rack, and I'm at the back. And there's 2 bikes. One of them is mine. So, yeah.
We were late. I mean, we started at the back of the swim.
Sometimes you can eat some humble pie.
We started at the back of the swim.
So
hop on the bike. You go out, and it is a double loop out and back, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you start off and you hang a left, and it goes clockwise.
Yeah.
And note, you ride on the left, pass on the right.
Where are the road cones? Were you watching road cones?
I was watching road cones, and these didn't give me any PTSD.
All right.
But on the bike, the aid stations are on the left. First time we've ever had left-hand aid stations. We always grab with our right hand.
Yeah.
And so you've practiced that, right? I mean, if you've done a bunch of races, and so I think I never stopped at an aid station, but you said you reached out with your right.
No, I was grabbing with my left, and then I would set it on the arrow bars, and then switch it to my right to chug it real quick. Different experience, yeah.
So be aware of that, and then passing on the right is different too. I mean, the first 10 miles you got used to that. I mean, and they had 2 aid stations that you passed twice, so it ended up being 4 aid stations, which was that was a bonus.
Yeah.
But you come out, you take a left, and you go down, I don't know, maybe 2 miles or so, and do a U-turn. Go all the way back up, do a U-turn, come back, and I mean, when I came back and I passed the turnoff or whatever, my watch said 28.0 miles. So I mean, they had it down perfect that it was going to be 56. So you knew that, and you knew that as you were coming back. So then there was a split. You go to the left if you're going to finish for the second lap. You go straight. So you do that same thing. Go a couple miles, make the U-turn, go all the way back up. There were rolling hills. My Garmin said 1,000 feet a gain, which I think is actually generous because it didn't feel like 1,000 feet a gain. It was some rolling hills. There was never a steep hill. I never came out of my big crank.
No.
I was in my big crank the entire time.
Yes.
I mean, I did go all the way to the smallest gear or largest gear in the cassette, but never came out of a big crank.
Yeah.
So if your bike is set up for flat roads, I mean, it would be just fine. That we did deal with a little wind. So when it's going to be windy, which we were fortunate in that this will usually probably be a windy race.
Yes, I would expect a windy race here.
But the good thing about this is in Egypt, it was one loop out and back, and so you were in the wind the entire time out, and the wind was in your back the whole way. So on this one, at least since it's 2 loops, I mean, I don't like the U-turns, but if it's going to be a windy race, then I like the 2 loops because you're not always into the wind. I mean, you might be into the wind one way and then back, and then so you get a break, and then into the wind and then back. So that was nice. I mean, 2 loops. I mean,
for us, it was a tailwind out, headwind back.
Yeah.
But I swear it felt kind of like we were in general climbing on the way out and general descending on the way back. It might not be by much.
I mean, you were because you could see the cliff and see kind of how down the ocean was. But I mean, we're talking maybe 50 feet, 60 feet. I don't know, maybe even 100. It was not bad. It was not.
It was. I just felt like there were more descents on the way home than on the way out.
Which was good because you're in the wind on the way back, and so going downhill into the wind.
Yeah, it was certainly to the advantage. But yeah, the wind will pick up. This was a very light on the windy day. So once again, train for wind.
Yeah. My bike splits, I don't think any of my 5-mile splits were 2 minutes difference from each other. So I mean, that's how light the wind was. 2 minutes. Averaged a pretty fast bike for me. So
I came off the swim. I was feeling pretty good. I'm cruising along, and then suddenly I hear Steve Irwin coming behind me.
Hey, mate! What I said was, I mean, we were trying to get people to say that's a knife.
Yeah.
We go to the burger place, and they bring out a burger and plate with fries or whatever and a knife, and what's a knife? It was a big. I mean, it wasn't a Crocodile Dundee knife, but it was a big steak knife or whatever. So I right up behind him was like, "Oh, that's a bike."
Is that what you said?
So that's a bike. Because it was. I mean, it was a nice bike. If you had 700 new timers, our bikes are nice.
Yeah, I'll give you that. There were some older bikes there, and I got passed by them. So if you did, you should feel great.
Yeah, our bikes the frames are awesome. The engines suck, but the bikes are awesome.
Apparently Oreos does not help an engine. Weird. For more tips, please watch our other videos.
The roads were good. I'm not going to say they're the best roads we've ever been on, but they were above average, I would say.
They were very good. I'd put them on par with Georgia, Florida style roads. No big issues. There are, of course, cracks and stuff in them, but very reasonable roads, very good roads.
There were some not potholes, but like holes where covers to something were that you had to watch out for, but because they didn't even mark them. But overall, I mean, where we were biking, we weren't in big groups or anything, so it wasn't a problem.
So I would have liked to have seen a little more road marking out there. They did not in the U.S. Ironman is very good about, I don't know, sometime before the race, close to the race, going out and marking any bumps, nicks, anything in the road, so that all you're looking down for is orange paint, and you need to avoid whatever. This did not have that. It didn't terribly need it.
No,
but
no. I mean, you don't get points taken off for that. I mean, the roads themselves, like I said, above average.
I'd like to see it. So I got past at mile 6 or 8, I think.
I think it was all the way at mile 10. I don't think it was 6 or 8.
So quickly. So you got to the run first. So about that run.
I did get to the run first. All right. This is where the race could use some improvement. I don't know how they're going to improve it, but we had this issue. What in Virginia? The course was narrow. So I mean, pretty much one lane in areas, in significantly long areas, one lane going out, one lane coming back. It's a 2-loop course. You got 2,000 people. For our second lap, it was fine.
Yeah.
The first lap, you had the fast people out there. Well, not the super fast because they were finishing before we even got off the bike, but the relatively fast people out there and the slow people out there, and so it was crowded. And if you're doing a run-walk cadence, you felt like you could not walk. I felt like I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, can be good in that it keeps you from walking, but at the same time, if you're planning on doing
if you've got
this particular
work on your plan,
then it's you couldn't really because you get run over. The second lap it was fine, but they've got to figure out a way to make that run course wider.
So they were using a bicycle path trail thing, and so it's just not meant for 2,000 people to be running on it. And I understand there are parts of that race that will require you'll have to go on that thing. There were parts that just could only be on the bike path. But there were parts that they could have pushed into. They were using some of the things that were available to them, like posts or whatever. But there was extra room that they could have used and just used the post as the division point. That's what I would have liked to have seen. So I think that's an easy improvement for next year, and it's just one of those things you don't see until you see 2,000 people on it.
So this is an advantage if you are fast and you're going to have a good time. Get in the swim very early, even if you're not a great swimmer. But if you're a good biker and a good runner, go ahead and get the swim early, because the earlier you get out there, the less of the slow people you're going to have to deal with on the run. And that's for a fast person, it's going to be a problem if they're trying to pass that many slow people.
Yeah.
And it's if you
because for the fast people it would be their second. It'd get crowded for their second lap, which would probably be even more annoying. Like you got used to it being reasonable, and then it got crowded. But yeah, there were times that I mean we were jogging out of deference to everybody around us. I would have been walking, but the thing was so narrow that I wanted people to be able to pass, and you could not run to a stride for a lot of this course. Occasionally, people coming the other way were getting into my lane to be able to pass. I had to do it a couple times when it was safe to be able to pass somebody on ours. So yeah, just something that needs to be worked on. But I mean, it's along the beach. It's a really pretty run course.
Oh yeah, it's a great course.
The course a lot. I think that with some minor tweaks, that it could be a great course.
They had plenty of aid stations for the weather that we had.
Yes.
If it was hotter, so it was overcast for most of the day. If it was significantly hotter, there were going to be problems. So I feel like if you should add at least one more, if not two more aid stations to the course, which would add 4, because you pass them each twice, if you did 2.
One of them, right, you come out of transition, and this isn't the first race that this has happened on. You come out of transition, and you can see the aid station. It's on the other side. I really would have liked to, right, because those people, it was right before, of course, transition and the end. So there was really no need for that aid station on that side. It could have been on the other side, feeding the people coming out and the people starting their second loop. And there wouldn't have been maybe, a tenth of a mile or so in difference.
They did have an aid. You could have gotten water going out of transition. So there was an aid station right there on the left, inside of transition, that had water and stuff. But still,
you probably passed that because you went all the way through transition. I was already at the exit gate. I went straight.
I got you. Yeah, I passed it because my run from my rack was significantly further than the run from your rack. But yeah, there were just a couple of places where you're like, I mean, it looked like they had tried to set them up every 2K, and I like to see aid stations every mile. And it looked like there were places where they couldn't set them up, but there were definitely places where they could. I mean, there was one place where they had like beach bathrooms that was a concrete building or whatever. You could have absolutely set up an aid station right there, and people could have stopped to go to the bathroom and gotten their aid station. I don't know. But it was fine for our race. I don't think that anybody had any issues, but if it was hot, you were going to have problems.
You were going to have problems. So, I want you to hear our complaints. I mean, the chances that Ironman Melbourne actually watches our video have to be next to none. But, our complaints are stuff that you should be aware of. So, stuff like that. If you think you're worried about water or you're worried about the heat, then bring your own water. Or bring
a water bottle. You could have filled it up with ice and water and had all that.
It's no problem.
I want to be clear. This is a great race.
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff that you should be aware of, or stuff that they could possibly be improved on, and it is very nitpicky stuff that we're talking about.
So I think this race could be one of our highest. That's why we're being critical. So finish line was pretty cool. You got a black medal this time.
Which with the same color scheme that they're using for the shirts.
Yeah.
So it's a black shirt with the purple and pink and all that. So that's pretty cool.
So we have not gotten a black medal before, so that was kind of cool. When we got it, we just Dubai like 2 weeks ago, and that thing's a dinner plate. So I don't know how to compare anything anymore. So it's not huge, but
that's a good medal.
Yeah,
it's good. Thick ribbon. I mean, we've gotten cheap stuff before, and this is not cheap.
This is nice. But we got a towel.
So I was hoping for a finisher backpack. I was like, surely that's what they're going to do. Is they're going to give us a finisher backpack. But instead, we got a towel, and it's a nice beach towel that says finisher on it, like a.
Oh, sorry.
Say. Can you see the finisher on there?
Yes, you can see the finisher.
So it's got finisher on there, and then it's got the Ironman logo.
Yeah, and it's a nondescript Ironman towel, M.Dot towel. Once again, I'm going to give Melbourne a pass this time on it. I'd love to see it with a picture of Melbourne. I'd love to see it with Ironman Melbourne stuff. Would be super cool. You're laying out at the beach, you're showing off your Australia towel. That would be super cool. So that's just, what you could do to make that better. But it's kind of like the hats. If the race isn't going to pull off, am I going to sit on 2,000 towels forever? So I don't want to be critical of that for this year. They pulled off the race. That's fantastic. Finisher towel. That's a neat, just something different. We were complaining about that in maybe the last video or 2 videos ago. So kudos to Ironman for not passing out just the finisher hat. Although I would love to see a hat.
Yeah, we like hats. I mean, I'm going to give them a pass on the hat. The towel instead of the hat is fine, but the towel instead of a hat and a backpack, that's not fine.
So yeah, like the finisher towel, very cool. So you want to? There was no food after this race.
There was food. It was fruit. So they had.
I'm sorry.
They had
there was
Coke.
no junk food after this race.
Yeah, they had Coke and they had bananas and watermelon and like some honeydew and other stuff. But there was not like a meal.
Yeah.
So we're like used to pizza or I don't know,
Kangaroo. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. There was not any of that.
I hear you guys have plenty of those. We could start eating those. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be hilarious. Like Australian meats that you couldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah,
I'd
cool.
thoroughly enjoy that. It's probably expensive. So what I'm probably suggesting is a $10,000 meal.
Yeah, you can if you need help planning your race.
Yeah.
Oh, we're the guys.
We got you.
If you want to spend money on your race, we can tell you what to spend money on. We're good at that.
So let's go over our ranking. Oh, you got a score for this one?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a solid 6, between 6 and 6.5. I'll give it a 6.25. I'm going to take off for the backpack. I mean, because you got to have it. Even with COVID, I mean, even if they would have given us that standard black wet dry backpack that we hate, I wouldn't have taken off points because I could be like, all right, well, they're at the beginning, they're in the COVID, and you got to figure Ironman has some extra of those.
Yeah, that's true.
Or if they would have said, hey, we didn't get the backpacks, we're shipping them to you. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So take off points for that. The run course could use a little work, but this is a very good race. And I mean, a 4 is average for us. So a 6.25. I mean, there's probably less than 10 of our races that we've given over a 6.
We have like one fan who's going to go back and check our videos to see if that's correct.
Yeah, we're probably going to get something in the comments.
Yeah.
Dude, you rate everything over 6.
I'm with you. I think it's a 6. I think this is a solid 6 race. I think with improvement, 7 is really high. You could push really high 6s, maybe a 7. You pull in Kangaroo. Okay, if you feed me Kangaroo, I guarantee you a 7.
If they give you a Dubai backpack, a hat, a finisher towel, and they pull out the Australian meats at the end.
7.5. We will invent a new rating system to give you even higher.
It doesn't matter if the bike course sucks or anything like that. If they do all of the other stuff, you're good.
Yeah. So I mean, the bike course is great. The run course itself is great with some tweaks. So I'm taking a little bit off for that.
I mean, the swim is probably about the best they could do. I mean, I guess you could make the finish closer to the transition entrance by swimming around the pier. I'm assuming that they were not allowed to do that because on the other side of the pier there's a bunch of boats. It's like a harbor or whatever. So they probably weren't allowed to do it. They probably put the swim in the only place they could, which is fine. It was a good swim.
So I will highly recommend this race.
It should definitely be a bucket list race for you. The city of Melbourne, very excited to have the Ironman there.
They were very cool.
I mean, because we go to places where they're not happy. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And they knew about it, and they were happy for us to be there, so that was good.
So, that's anything else you got to add?
No, I guess it.
A great race. Highly recommended.
Ironman staff was a 7.
Ironman staff was incredible. The Oceania staff was awesome. Thank you guys. So stay tuned for next week's adventure in Buenos Aires. In San Juan. You
don't even know where you are, man.
I have no idea where I am. I know that I'm in Argentina. I hope that I'm in San Juan, but I could be in Buenos Aires. I don't know. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.